back of my mind, at a very young age, I always wanted to own my own business. And so, in my journey to get there, I was actually born in Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana. Went to high school there, and I was not an athlete per se, but I was always involved in some type of leadership in high school. Always strived to do my best to make the best grades. I was president of my senior class. I was president of the Honor Society. I was president of the Key Club. So I was always president of something. I was always leading something, and everybody would always come to me whenever they wanted to get something going. And graduated from high school. I went to Louisiana Tech. And my initial thought was I wanted to be a civil engineer. When I looked at the salaries of what a civil engineer made versus what a petroleum engineer made, I switched my major. So I have a degree in petroleum engineering from Louisiana Tech, and graduated from Louisiana Tech and was offered a job by one of the largest independent oil and gas companies at the time, Sun Oil Company. And immediately was transferred to Denver, Colorado, where my career really started. And that was back in 1982. First day on the job, I think I'm coming in to be a petroleum engineer, and they sit me down in front of a computer. That was my first introduction to really working with computers hands-on. Right? In college, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but back in college, we had to write Fortran programs on these little cards, right? You run those cards through, and it produced a little program, and it was pretty archaic. If you ever walk to the data center and you drop those cards, you have a real problem. Because now you got to shuffle them all up, you got to get them in the right order to make that program work. So I had that little background. I think that's what they keyed in on. And so my first day, I sit down in front of this little old GE timeshare. It was very archaic. You type your commands on the line, and if you made a mistake, you had to type it all over again. So I got very good at typing. And I really started to get into the computer side. Rewriting all of the engineering programs was my job, first day on the job, was to rewrite them and run the programs and run the reservoir engineering models and do that kind of thing. I did that to the point where I decided to go back and get a second degree in computer science, and I did that while at Denver, living in Denver for 8 years. And at the whole time, I would go take some of the corporate classes, which was in Dallas. They could fly me here. I spent a week taking various classes on various technology areas at that time, which wasn't anything like what you're familiar with today. Most of it was the big boys, IBM, Digital at the time. But Sun had a big IBM mainframe. You probably never heard of what a mainframe is, but it's a very big computer. Big as this room, double this room in size. And actually working with that was where my start come from the technology. Then the big explosion of the first IBM PC that IBM came out with at the time. It was little floppy drives, big 5 1/4 floppy drives, very little memory. You had to write the code real tight. They had a little operating system called DOS. Some of you probably never heard of what you made out because you're in the MIS area. I mean, just stuff that, you know, fascinating to me, because the thing that got me going was I could give it a command and it would do it. No one else would do that, right? You tell someone else something to do and they wouldn't do it like you want them to do, but whatever you tell a computer to do, it would do it. So I was real fascinated with that. And then the next generation was networking. After the IBM PCs caught on, IBM tried to dominate the market with something they called token ring, another area where they had a way that you communicated with all the computers through a card they called a token ring, and that was a network that they were using. So I was installing networks. My next level job out of Denver, they closed that office. They relocated me to Oklahoma City, where I then became the system analyst for a territory. So I had offices, field offices, all over Oklahoma and some in Midland, Texas. And I would actually go out to the oil field offices, field offices, and I would install the mainframe computers. At that time, it was a dumb terminal. It had keyboard, and it was connected through some very large cables that we called coax cables at the time, and it would communicate with the big mainframe back here in Dallas. And my job was to train the guys on the ground how to get their data into the computers, and then I would manage that process. I would manage any problems that they would have. I was a regional system analyst at the time. And then after a few years of doing that, they moved me from, actually 6 months, they moved me from Oklahoma City to Dallas. I was still doing the same job, but in a different area. I picked up some additional locations at the time. And so my responsibility got larger. I got folk then that was reporting to me. I got more of a management role at that time. And then we started to go international. And then my career really exceeded from there. I was fortunate enough, I was blessed to be able to install networks pretty much around the world. Places like Quito, Ecuador. We had an office there. I would go there and actually build the networks from the ground up and help those networks communicate back to Dallas. Then I would go to Jakarta, Indonesia, London, England, Aberdeen, Scotland, literally all over the world. And every place I'd go, it would be a challenge learning the language, time zone difference. It was quite an experience. I can remember a funny story in Ecuador. One Saturday morning, I was there, and I was there to install a new computer system there. And got around lunchtime. There was no one in the building but me and the security guard. He was very fluent in Spanish. I had very little Spanish. But we managed to communicate. That's what communication is real important. Getting a pizza order there, and we together ate that pizza. And I'll tell you, that was quite a challenge. If at this point, if I could just say one thing that I didn't do that I wish I would have